Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on April 24, 2015, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of the meeting and will be available on UTTV Channel 97 and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct this announcement be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I would ask all to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Coggins?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Colombo?
Here.
All members are present.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of both the open and closed session from the April 12th meeting, 2015?
Motion approved. Second.
Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Hearing none. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Abstain.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor and 1 abstention.
Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll forego the report of the governing body members at this point so that we can do the presentation. I know that Committeeman Pearson had a lot to do with this, and I'm going to ask him to call up Ms. Nagel and her family, and then you could read the resolution for us if you wouldn't mind. Thank you. Yes.
Before I do begin, yes, it was an honor to do this. When I found out about the background of this young lady of 94 years of age that passed away, and her background in the short term of service that she had in World War II, I thought it was really unique. So, Resolution 88-2015, whereas Kitty Leeming King served this country with absolute integrity and dedication as a woman Air Force service pilot, earning the respect, admiration, and with high regard of all whom she came in contact. And whereas at the age of 94 on March 10th, 2015, Kitty Leeming King passed away, leaving her family in this community with a deep feeling of sorrow for the loss of such an honored and respected loved one and citizen. And whereas we are forever grateful for her diligent and unselfish service to this country, and whereas while attending USC University in California, Kitty became fascinated with flying and was ultimately accepted into the newly formed Women's Air Force Service Pilots, WASP, program, graduating in the 1943, class number 4, at Avenger Field in Sweetwater, Texas. And whereas the WASP predecessor, the Women's Flying Training Detachment, and the Women's Auxiliary Ferrying Squadrons, originally separately in September 1940, and whereas the WASP was the pioneering organization of civilian female pilots employed to fly military aircraft from under the direction of the United States Air Force, Army Air Force that is, during World War II, and whereas the WFTD and the WASP were merged on August 5th, 1943 to create the paramilitary WASP program. And whereas out of the 25,000 women that applied, only 1,074 were accepted into the WASP to fly military aircraft during World War II. And whereas in 1977 the WASP was granted veteran status, and in 2010 President Barack Obama and the United States Congress awarded Kitty, along with all the WASPs, the Congressional Gold Medal. And whereas Kitty will always be remembered for her service to this country, which she undertook with the utmost commitment, honor, and integrity, and whereas it is just and deserving that on behalf of the residents of Upper Township we honor and celebrate the life of Kitty, and now therefore be it resolved that the Township Committee join with all citizens of our community to pay tribute to the life of service of Kitty Leeming King, and do hereby extend to Kitty's family our most heartfelt sympathy for their loss and the hope that they will be consoled by the memories of her fine life and achievements.
Very nice. Would you like to come up, Kitty, with your family, and we'll present you with the resolution, which will become a permanent record in the township for all future.
It'd be easy to come up here this way around, if you would. Now, while, oh, okay, thank you. That's nice. Now, what we did, sure, just if you want to stand in the center here. What we did was we got a bronze medal for her family that can be displayed. It's very similar to the Congressional Gold Medal. Okay. I also put together the book that I have all the data that I researched from, and I also got copies of her medals so that you have her medals.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
This is bronze medal.
Thank you.
Just very similar to
Very similar to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably came from the same.
Same order.
It's a shame. She got sick the day before we had a stretch of full size stretch. So we went down and.
Kitty, if you could speak up into the mic, because it's being video.
We went down and had military escort and everything else. Unfortunately, my mother got sick the night before. We had to put her in the Sherman Memorial Hospital. So we went down and stretched them on the breeze with a military escort there. And it was down underneath the Capitol in the congressional room, yes. And they had international press that was up like this. And Tom Brokaw was the speaker. And they had everybody that you see on nightly news there showed up, came to help from the Capitol. And as I said, it was really, it was amazing. And there were rows and people that, were once 23 like my mother was. They were in their wheelchairs with the oxygen lined up. But others were walking around, you wouldn't know they were just about her age, and it's just a shame. As I said, last I understood when we were there were only 300 left of the original WASP out of the 100, and when she died, there was like less than, she was 75 left, and it's now down to 74. So history is fading away.
Yes, very quickly.
By the way, they did not have any women's clothing, so they had to take and use men's clothing. And my mother, being 5'1.5", put the taper in to go and make the 5'2" that she could to get in there. She said, if I ever jumped, I would have been killed right out of the parachute. So she flew the warbirds that they had to get from factory to whatever coastal area in which they were going to, or go up to Montana and give it to the Russians that came over the Arctic Circle. And guess who flew? Women.
Women.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this was something until somebody made a comment in 1976 that the women were finally going to be flying. There's a first American military female pilot, and somebody went, whoa. So anyhow, so Carter was very kind. They had enough pressure and assigned them in as veterans, and as they should have been, and people thought they were going to be, during the war, become part of the new Air Force that was forming. And there's a little bit of history, and as I said, they're dying out. As you can see, they're all men's outfits, high altitude suits that they were wearing. As I said, it's fascinating what outfits they
She also flew the P-51 Mustang too.
Yes.
Okay, that wasn't in her record.
No,
but I did get
she
the,
was
I did
we
get
had,
two of the
she wrote it
plans.
down, that's what we had. I'm going to find that picture on that one.
I don't think my grandparents, her parents, were thrilled that she was giving up her full scholarship to USC.
Well, if you can rise, stand here with the mayor and let the
And you know what? I think it would be appropriate to maybe include the Medal of Honor as well.
Yeah. Now, the bronze medal, I did take one of these, and I left it off at your finance dealer so that he could have them out.
Is that what you're going to,
Is that what they, oh, okay.
So this is
Okay.
secondary now.
Karen. Okay.
Why don't you come over here so that they can get a picture in the center? Do this too as well.
Are you, that's what happens.
Short. There we go. Now we're set.
I didn't think I was going to break it. Reading that, I was, it's a little fresh right now. But this is very kind.
Congratulations, what a great memory, and, you know, your mom's history, is spectacular.
I thank you very kindly for recognizing it, because a lot of people have forgotten or they go, why Daniel Saxon promised. So, as I said, it took somebody in '76 to finally release the print because they started to say, what do you mean, first military aircraft? But it wouldn't be Jordan. 38 died. 38 because they just picked them up right from the factory, and all everybody was flight tested. This year, the Golden Oil, next year, 38 died. So, and they expected you to ship them home after that's the hire. You think they took 7 months. So, it's a lot of sacrifice.
Stories. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you're also welcome to depart if you have other things that you need to take care of.
Go home and put the medals up.
Congratulations.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, so Barbara, do you have anything for us this evening?
I just have one item. I just wanted to remind everyone that we'll be having the day of prayer on May 7th, Thursday, May 7th, the first Thursday, here at the municipal building at 10 a.m. if anyone cares to join us for that.
Okay. Great. Daniel?
Nothing at this time, but we do have a number of closed session items.
Okay. Paul?
Thank you. Just to give the committee an update on a couple of things. First, the Beachville project. Some kind of good news and bad news. The bad news is continued. The dredge is still at dry dock in Norfolk. It was supposed to leave over the weekend. However, there's been some snag with getting its Coast Guard certification to go out to sea and by tug and get towed up here. They were hoping to leave this afternoon, but I haven't heard that it actually left yet. The good news is that between conversations with the township and the state and Avalon is going to allow the township to have the first part of the Beachville from Hawthorne Avenue up to the northern end, so we can have a beach. I did send the committee a picture of what the beach looked like. Every high tide, the scarping up at the north end continues to get worse. And at Williams Avenue, the scarp is probably over 8 feet tall. Wow, right now. So getting onto the beach on the north end is nearly impossible at this point. So the Beachville can't come in too soon.
So they're going to move north from Hawthorne up to the inlet and around the inlet?
Yes.
And then from there, they'll depart for Avalon, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And then come back and do south through Whale Beach after
Correct. They anticipate by the time they get here, they're hoping that they'll have good weather and good production to have between now and I'll say the first week in June to pump from Hawthorne north, and then sometime that first week in June to go down to Avalon and then come back up towards to Whale Beach to pump the Whale Beach section probably in that first week of July. Next, I just want to give you an update on Bayview Drive. project reconstruction is a grant project from the DOT. Probably do the final paving for that project next week, and then they'll have some final cleanup, but that project should be wrapping up within the next week or two. We had a meeting, kickoff meeting last week with the DEP and the different partners with the Bayview Avenue Boat Ramp project, the second grant that we received for that project. So that permitting process will probably start over the next month. Have the design and permitting done by the summertime, so we can go out to bid early fall and then have it constructed by the end of winter time for next year's season. And then the other thing was last week we advertised in the cell tower lease license for the Public Works cell tower. We finally got that out to bid, so that's out to bid now. I think it has a 30-day bid due time, so 28th of May is the bid due date. So we'll give you a report when those bids come in. And that's all I had this evening.
But one other question, so just to update on Hope Course, and I know that they're doing some pre-construction work right now. When do we anticipate them to actually?
Last time I talked to the contractor, he was anticipating starting this week, starting some of the curb work and drainage. That road will be closed for local traffic only. There will be no through traffic allowed on that project as they do the project because of how much drainage work and curb work there are and how narrow it is. It's just not feasible to keep that open for through traffic, so that will be closed for through traffic once they start.
Can we get additional signage on Brewhouse as well as Evergreen, no through traffic for trucks?
I will ask the county if they can ask the contractor to put some signs out there. I do know that we've had some discussions with Action Supply to try to reinforce that with their drivers to keep them off there, but obviously they're not the only commercial vehicles in the area, but I think I'll talk to the county engineer and see if they can't add some of that.
Because I did see something on Evergreen, I think it says local traffic only, like, so we can't.
Those are
Right.
our signs, but maybe we can add some construction signage there for that.
Yeah, because there was a memo sent out by Action to say their trucks not utilize those streets,
Yeah.
and so what you say makes sense, and we need to post that to make sure they're not public.
And a lot of times it's not Action's trucks, it's the other contractors coming in to pick up block or
Right.
sand.
that's doing the job.
Whatever
they
we
should
can
do
do where they have problem, I think we should.
I'll talk to the county and see if they can't add that to that.
I get it.
Is that it?
That was
Okay.
it, thank you.
Barbara?
I have a couple things this evening, a couple requests. The first is, as some of you are aware, our municipal court administrator is taking some classes, and she has back-to-back classes in Trenton this week. So she's requesting your permission for a hotel room for one night. It's actually 3 people that are going to share it, total cost of $170, so less than $60 for the evening for the township if you so choose to approve.
I would move the approval of that.
It's cheaper than paying gas and tolls.
Yep. Let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Second is our tax collector is asking permission to go to the annual tax collectors and treasurers conference, spring conference in Atlantic City. It's going to be May 19th and 20th, and that would be a cost of $300. She will be able to attain about 10 of her necessary 15 CEUs at that conference. And because of the cost, that's why I'm bringing it to you.
Motion approved.
Second.
Let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. And then one last thing. It's time for the annual trust fund monitoring certification. Every year I have to certify, Paul and I both have to certify with the State Council on Affordable Housing that all of our expenses and receipts match what our bank account says. I have reconciled all of that. If you're curious, we have approximately $441,000 in the account. Of that, about $118,000 came in receipts this year, and we paid out about $50,000.
So
For
that's
our
the,
rehabilitation project, and we are near the end of our rehabilitation project.
That should be the end of the, for the rehabilitation project, we rehabilitated 14 units, averaging around, or maxing out around $20,000 for each one of those units. Just to remind the committee, we have a 4-year period, kind of a rolling period that we, if we take the money in, we have to spend it within that 4-year period, the following 4 years. For this upcoming rolling year, we have just around under $100,000 that we need to spend on affordable housing initiatives. So that's something that we need to obviously look at and start planning for the too long.
So I just need a motion from you to go ahead and submit this certification to affordable housing.
Motion to direct the finance officer to submit the application for affordable housing.
Second.
would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, that's all I had this evening.
Okay. Mr. Coggins, do you have anything for us this evening?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Mr. Young?
Just a couple things. Amanda's field, we're still working on the grading. We're almost complete on the 2 fields and all the drainage. All the conduit has been corrected. We're still waiting on a price to install the bases for the lights. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have that information. Mike had the proposals put together for the new refreshment stand and bathroom, versus going with concrete block versus going with the superior walls. And unfortunately, I left that paperwork at home on the desk, so we'll have to present that at the next meeting. And I'd like to try to get a vote on it at that time so we can move forward. The pad site is pretty much prepared and been graded and ready to go. We did rearrange some of the fields there and remove the batting cages that were in the front in order to make room for 2 T-ball fields, which will give us the accessibility for the handicapped kids with Challenger Sport, as well as any parents or grandparents that need to park closer. So I think that's going to be a definite benefit for us. And that was it for Amanda's Field. 4th of July, I'm hoping to hold a meeting next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Place to be determined yet, but I will get together with Barb and let her know that we can get things sent out and posted to try to get that up and rolling. Our idea for 4th of July is to do more of an old-fashioned with games for the kids, not so many vendors, but maybe 3-legged races, potato sack races, egg tosses, pie eating contests, and more of the old school. And many of the recreation programs have expressed an interest to set up a game as a fundraiser for themselves. So we'll probably have maybe the jugs machine for pitching, and hockey's going to set up with a slap shot, maybe 3 shots for $1. And along with that, hopefully we'll have 3 bands playing this year. But that's our next event. And so anybody that knows anybody that wants to get involved, we're always looking for additional people to help us out. I have 8 right now that's been pretty steady, but I don't want to burn them out, so we're looking for new people too. Mike, you just got here. I left my paperwork home for the refreshment stand. Do you recall what the numbers was, the block work versus this superior? If not, we'll do it the next meeting, but.
You're looking at roughly 16 to 20,000 for superior walls. Material for the block, you're looking at roughly 6.
Right. Plus the labor difference we were talking. All right. Yeah, just for, if we want to discuss that now, I mean, the difference is labor, we estimated 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, depending on weather and everything else, with 4 people, which puts us up somewhere around $16,000 in labor. Superior walls will come in 2 days or 1 day and set the walls, and they're done. By the end of the first week, we can have trusses on and plywood on. And not so weather directed, because they can come in. There's no footing involved with the superior walls. It's set on a stone bed. So I think, with the short staff that we do have right now, for us to go forward and try to lay the block ourselves, not having real masons work for us. That 4-week project could wind up into an 8-week project very easy with water and people being pulled off to do other jobs. So there's really no way for me to set the time on the labor except for to estimate it. I think in the long run, we're going to have a more solid cost by going with the superior walls.
And there's structurally no difference between the two?
No, superior walls come in, all the openings are cut with levels and everything ready to go. The outside has a rough stucco finish, and we can do whatever we want after the fact. Whether we can inlay brick or whatever as we go down the road, maybe as a fundraiser to dress it up. It'll be the entire outside perimeter. I think they were 10-foot walls, right, Mike? 10-foot walls, and then we're going to put a solid wall between the refreshment stands, so it gives us a fire barrier between the refreshment stand and the bathrooms. And then probably build 2x6 wood walls inside on some of the separations to help keep the cost down. So we're looking between 16 and 17 for the superior walls, right? So.
Of these superior walls, when you put them up, I'm assuming that, is there outside labor that goes along with that?
No, the price that they give us includes them setting the walls in place, supporting them.
So they include the labor to do that? I guess
Standing the walls up.
What my question would be is understanding, the difference in material with the block, and understanding that it may take township employees X number of hours to do this.
Mm-hmm.
What would we have to pay a masonry contractor to come in and put up the same type of structure? I mean, would that be more cost effective than that?
I don't believe that it would be. I mean, they're getting close to $4 a block right now, $3 to $4 a block to settle, plus everything else. So, and the cost of your block. But you might look at a little bit of savings.
Yeah, but at that point, you're doing prevailing wages too.
And we have to pay the
cost
cost
goes
rates
up.
we can. And that's what's going to escalate the cost we have to pay union scale. So, it might be a $2,000 or $3,000 difference, but again, time-wise, weather motivated, I think it offsets the difference in the cost. $20,000 of that comes from the grant money. So that's going to pretty much give us all the outside walls, but that's for the bathrooms. The $20,000 we have to supply, but the money for the refreshment stand itself.
Plus, we can limit the amount of man hours that our people are going to be tied up working on a
That's the
concession
scary
stand
part.
as opposed to having to take care of other tasks that we're going to have them for.
Absolutely.
Has Barbara been consulted for the quote and purchasing aspect?
No, not yet.
So she would have to
We're-
look at it, she may have to get quotes, and obviously it may not be this contractor, it could be another one. And get quotes.
So why
Well,
don't,
we're limited with who can do the walls.
Well,
yeah,
So
but I think,
she needs to review that process, it
Okay,
is below the
right.
bid threshold, but she just would need to review it, that's all. Whatever you do is subject to purchasing and reviewing it.
so I was going to say, why don't we have Barbara agendize it for the next meeting? You'll have an opportunity to get figures
quotes.
to Barbara.
Okay.
And then we can take it from there.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it out here tonight, just so people can start thinking about it and rationalize the difference within now and the next 2 weeks. We just adopted some bylaw changes with the rec board, and there's one other issue that I think we needed to address, and we discussed it at the last rec board meeting. With all of our boards being 501Cs with recreation, and their boards are becoming a little bit mixed with township people versus people that don't live in the township. And one of the concerns that was expressed to me, and I tend to agree with it, is we should limit the number of board members that can be from outside of the township. We don't want to lose control of our program. Myself, I thought it should be 100% township people. 75% was thrown out as an idea that if they have a 10-member board, then you're going to have 8 and 2. I think it should.
These are for ongoing programs that are sponsored by the township, such as soccer, basketball, football,
Wrestling,
baseball.
all of them.
Challenger's a little bit of a
Challenger, I don't
hybrid.
think I think we have to exempt them because
You can't,
it's
it
Darrell.
has to have the same rule, has to apply to everybody, so.
Yeah, but anything that's primarily a township recreation and travel team, I think we should limit or
I understand, but you can't pick and say, well, this is different than that unless you have a rational reason.
right.
and
Well,
basis.
again, and we discussed this at the rec meeting. And we were going to make, they wanted to make the recommendation that we do something about it.
Was there a recommendation from the rec board? Or
The consensus
advisory
seemed to be 75%, that all boards must maintain at least 75% township residents.
Well, I'm going to tell you
When I
something,
talk about
you're going
this-
to find yourself in a quagmire, because who's going to determine which can be covered that are non-residents? And I think,
I think it's 100%.
I personally think that's the way it should go, because
I think it's 100.
then you won't have argument as to which board gets to have that outside person. And by the way, we're the ones that are ultimately supporting the project, and I really believe, as it sounds like you do, that they need it to be all residents.
I have a question. Was it each organization has to have at least 75%
Each
township
organization,
residents?
not-
It's not all of them mixed together and 75%.
Each organization
Each
would have to be-
organization has to be at least 75% of the board.
So if
has to-
basketball has a 10-member board, at least 8 of them would have to be.
Oh, all right, so that's.
And that, I talked to Hobie about this before, and essentially it will require to institute that change, an amendment to our ordinance. Because the ordinance doesn't get that specific, it just says the township committee will designate an organization to run an ongoing sports program.
And the thing is, again, with the 501Cs, we have kids from sending districts that are wrestling or playing basketball or baseball in our programs if they don't have a program available to them, which opens up the door for outside people to come in and have a say in how the program runs.
The blended communities, they want half their board to be made up of Seattle, Ocean City, whatever. And that's, I guess, the concern of the advisory board. If they're using our fields, and it really should just be our people that control it. You can bring your kids in to help us.
Yes.
And it's up to us, I think,
I
to
don't
set
see much
that.
of a point in allowing somebody from another community to be on one of our boards. Out of our own generosity, we're allowing their children to come in and play in our leagues, which is quite altruistic on our part, but I guess maybe we're doing that because we don't have enough kids in the program.
It makes some of the programs better for our kids.
Oh, it's not really, we have enough kids, but we've always historically, like Dennis Township didn't have a program, Woodbine didn't have a program, their kids came here to play football. And we've always offered it to outside areas that do not have a program. So, and our kids have to be chosen first, not as a starter, but they have to make it a squad before we take out outside people. So, myself, I think it should be 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I'm with you on that. I think it should be 100% as well.
So you want me to have an ordinance amendment for you guys to essentially
Do you need a
plug that
motion
in?
for that, Dan? Do you need a motion for that?
That would be good, and that, just a voice motion, and then we'll draft an ordinance change, and you'll vote on it, and then it'll be introduced and published.
If that's the case, I'll make a motion that with the Recreation Advisory Board, that we change the requirements, we don't have the requirements, excuse me. All board members for all programs requires 100% township residency to sit on any board.
Right, second.
And that is basically directing us to put an ordinance on a future agenda.
Yeah, and again, as you stated, which I don't know if we have to do something to quantify Challenger Sports, but that is made up from 3 counties.
If you do that, you can't exempt him. He's going to have his board members have to be Upper Township residents.
All right. Then they're going to have to do
Now, there's a difference in his situation because he can't get enough challenged kids to be on the programs without bringing people from the outside. But he doesn't necessarily have to have board members. Has anybody talked to him about
I
that?
don't think they really have a board at this time. I think Darrell basically is.
Well, if he's a 501c3, he has some type of board.
I think
You
he's
have
three.
to have at least
Three,
3.
There are 3
Are
members.
they,
They need you to
are
know-
they, do you know if they're upper residents?
I believe they are, yes.
So why don't we check with him before we bring the ordinance in? If there's an issue,
Okay,
I'll bring it
that's
back to you.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt his program.
I understand. And that is one that's different, and it's different because the nature of his program means he has to draw from a larger area,
Right.
but he really is trying to serve the ones that are here in Upper.
Right. And without the other kids, he can't. So, the last thing I have
Wait, we
is.
gotta
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry. I thought we were doing voice.
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
I just wanted to bring up our wrestling program again. 2 weeks ago, they went to the Mid-Atlantic, they call them the Mawas, down in Maryland, and we pretty much dominated almost every age group down there off the wall. I'll give you, for instance, our 9-year-olds finished 1, 2, and 3. So it's kind of, my understanding was pretty hectic for the kids because they were wrestling their best friends for the championship. They now, we have, I don't know how many kids, maybe 10 or 12 that qualified for the Nationals.
Wow.
That will be next, May 2nd, I think it is. So they'll be going down for that, and a lot of these kids will be wrestling each other again for the national championships. But I think it, just exemplifies what our wrestling program does, to go down there and just, I know my great nephew beat one of the top ranked wrestlers on the whole East Coast. And, and finished second. So, I just wanted to make that noted, and once they're all done, Barb, then I'll get a list of kids again, and I know there's Chicky and Brock and the whole crew again, but there's quite a few, all right? But I just wanted to make it known that they did a great job down there representing us again, so. That's it.
Okay. Mr. Barr.
Again, our Public Works people, they're out doing leaf and brush pickup. And anybody who sees any kind of potholes or any problems with the streets, by all means, go on the website and report it. And by all means, again, motoring public, be aware that they're out there doing construction on the roadways and filling potholes, and use your utmost careful driving to make sure that nobody gets hurt out there. And that's all I have to report, sir.
I would, if I could, Rich, I want to thank Ed again for working so close to me with the recreation programs and getting the amount of work we're getting done right now. It's almost mind-boggling. Actually, it's 3 months. We've done more than we did in probably about 3 years. And just because the two of us are working together with it.
Absolutely.
Baseball is
the
a static.
workers are out there hustling, that's for sure.
One of us is at Amanda's Field in Caldwell Park almost every day, checking on what's going on. So it's really steering us in the right direction. But again, publicly, thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Pearson.
I have nothing this evening, sir.
Okay. The only thing that I have is we received some complaints from neighbors in Sunset Acres. There's apparently on weekends a number of ATVs and motorcycles that are, some are, I guess, locals that are using the area to go down into the pits to drive around during the weekends. But recently, the past couple weekends, there has been some trucks that are trailering in some of these ATVs. I've alerted Barbara, and we've alerted Lieutenant Pearson of the state troopers to that effect. Obviously, they're trespassing. There was at least some sort of rumor out there that there's an online site that identifies some of the pits behind Mansfield and Sunset Acres as a place that these ATVs can go and do the trails on weekends. So anyway, the state troopers have been alerted, but I just want to make everybody aware that we have contacted the state troopers. We have been in contact with the neighbors, and we want to try and address this situation because they're trespassing on our pit, they're trespassing on private property, and actually their actions are illegal anyway, so we're trying to rectify that.
Yeah, also on the bike path, I know the last 2 Sundays we had games out there. Kids are doing wheelies down the street while the soccer games are going on. On a bike path with quads, we tried to catch them the other day, and my legs just wouldn't let me catch up with them.
Well, that's
but
the
really
one thing, obviously.
Really
The state troopers are very cautious because they don't want to lead a chase so that, these individuals could somehow be hurt because of being chased. So, they're kind of working around what they can do within, their allowance. But this is a priority that we're going to stay on top of to try and address.
We have to.
Plus all the work that we're putting into Amanda's Field, we don't want them destroying it.
Well, yeah, the one kid, yeah,
Utilizing
right across the
fields.
baseball fields.
Doing donuts out there, so we got that problem going on.
So if we're going to have to afford or invest in more fencing somehow or to protect our investment, we're going to have to.
Surveillance video, if somebody's dropping.
Trouble is you can't-
You have a license plate, whatever.
Yeah. A lot of it's the local
Don't
kids.
have license plates, that's the other problem.
The truck's a min does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's easy because
You
the
may
state
wanna mention
troopers.
that.
But they're not coming through Amanda's Field, they're actually going through Sunset Acres,
Yeah.
private parking areas in the back and just pulling up.
Up through Benson's Field.
Going down the
cutting
drainage.
Right across the
Wouldn't
street.
the neighbors see that and be
Oh,
able
it's
to?
going right, they're
Take a
driving
photo
right
of
through
the
neighbors'
truck.
yards and
They've complained.
right across the street. Unfortunately,
We don't have a license number yet,
Yeah.
but there was a couple that were identified as out of state, so. but the state troopers are going to bring in some additional state troopers to monitor the Manisfield and then behind Manisfield as well, so.
That's why we're talking about that. Have we done anything with the pit and off of Esperanza? With blocking that off?
I know I talked to Public Works about putting up that gate. I don't know if it's been
Make a
done.
note on that? Okay, thank you.
And that's all I have, so, Barbara, you want to move on to the resolutions?
Certainly. Item number 2 under the resolutions, congratulating the County of Cape May for attaining the official designation of a Coast Guard community by the United States Coast Guard.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Now, I know that Jeff and I are going to attend the festivities on that Friday evening, a week from this Friday, and all of you are also welcome to attend if you're available down at Coast Guard Base.
Okay. Item number 3, congratulating employee Richard McCauley of the Upper Township Public Works Department for his winning entry in the Upper Township Safety Award Program for the second quarter of 2015.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, honoring Augustus Jurowski on attaining the designation of Eagle Scout.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes, and I will add the project that this young man did. Everyone should try and visit it. It's behind the rectory at St. Maximilian Colby Church. It's a beautiful monument that he put up with it. So,
Item number 5, authorizing a contract with CASA Payroll Services of Pleasantville, New Jersey for payroll services.
Move the resolution.
Second.
please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, appointing Judge George B. Needed Jr. and Judge F. Thomas Hillgrass to serve as temporary municipal judges on an as-needed basis.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, authorizing a contract with Juliet Cole for clerical services in the Office of the Municipal Court on an as-needed basis.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 8, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to submit a renewal application for a commercial hall renter's license to the Legalized Games of Chance Control Commission.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, a resolution supporting steps by New Jersey officials to protect and support federal military bases located in the state of New Jersey.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, authorizing the execution of a shared services agreement with the Township of Dennis to provide clerical and administrative services for the Construction Code Office.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes, and just to add, I had a discussion with Mayor Murphy this morning about this. He's going to bring over our new staff member that we're sharing with Dennis probably on Thursday. He wants to come over and introduce her and show her around a little bit. So I'll need to coordinate that a little bit if we could.
Good. Item number 11, appointing the 2015 season boat ramp attendants.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay,
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 12, tax refund for Block 549, Lot 20.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 13, accepting the annual stormwater report and certification and authorizing the township engineer to electronically sign and submit it to the NJDEP pursuant to stormwater rules.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mayor, can I?
Sure. I was going to call on you anyway.
Okay, thank you. Just as a part of this process, I need to kind of give you some of the facts and figures about this, because part of the process is making sure the elected officials are kind of up to speed on what we do and the importance of this. You know, we have a stormwater permit to operate all of our stormwater outfalls, and the DEP implemented this back in 2006. So we've been doing this for about 9 years as an official permit process, and the DEP looks at this as a way for towns to kind of cut down on the pollution sources that we may be contributing to the environment. And a lot of what it comes up to is, you know, we do a lot of street sweeping, drain cleaning, and maintenance operations, and it's kind of a record keeping to make sure that towns are doing that and enforcing some of the regulations. And just to give you a feel, you know, last year the Public Works did about 688 miles of road sweeping and collected around 117 cubic yards of material. That's important because that's the type of material that would not get into the drains, clog the drains, and make the drainage work well, but also from an outfall standpoint, that's a lot of pollution that doesn't get into the outfalls. They also have about 750 basins and 45 outfalls that they have to clean and maintain throughout the year, and they cleaned about 25 tons of material out of the basins in that area. So it's a lot of work and a lot of effort to take care of that. But you know, the Public Works Department does a very good job at keeping up with all of the requirements, the permit requirements. There's also a lot of mapping issues. The next phase, if you see, it looked at permit requirements. Now they're asking us to verify and look at a lot of the private facilities, like the commercial establishments, and making sure they're maintaining their facilities, as well as, you know, where we mapped all of the township facilities back in 2006 to 2010. Now they're starting to say, okay, now you got to start putting on maps where the private facilities are, keep logs of when they have been inspected and everything like that. So it's, you know, they keep moving those permit parameters forward to try to, you know, improve water quality. So it's just kind of some of the figures that are out there for that and how we take care of that.
Okay. So we have a first and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 14, under ordinances, public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 6, 2015, and ordinance revising job classifications and titles and amending Chapter 5 entitled Personnel of the Code of Upper Township.
Okay. Before I open it up to the public, is there anyone on the Township Committee that would like to state anything? Hearing none. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this ordinance? Hold on while I'm reading this, 6, 2015. And it's an ordinance, as Ms. Young said, job classification and titles. Okay, let the record reflect that there was no public comment, and I'll close the public portion and entertain a motion for adoption.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 15, public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 7, 2015, and ordinance amending ordinance number 17, 2014, known as the salary ordinance for the calendar year 2015.
Move the adoption.
Second.
This is the public hearing and
Hold on, I got to open it up to the public first. So is anyone in the public here to address this or the final reading of the ordinance? This is your opportunity to address it. Okay, let the record reflect that there was no public comment. I'll close the public comment portion and entertain a motion for adoption, which I think we already have a first and a second. So would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 16, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 8, 2015, and ordinance amending ordinance number 17, 2014, known as the salary ordinance for the calendar year 2015.
Okay, just to let the public know, this is an introduction. Depending upon a successful motion and approval, we'll have a 30-day waiting period
Yes, May
for public
26th.
comment. Okay, so would someone like to make a motion to introduce this ordinance?
Motion to introduce?
Second.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 17, under new business, Upper Township School District 2015-2016 summer project request.
Okay, in the past, we have utilized some of our public works staff to help coordinate and take care of some requests during the summer to make repairs and address some improvements that the school is looking to do. Our employees have obviously been able to save the school system a substantial amount of money making these improvements. And so the request has come in this year as well to see if we could at some point allow some of our staff to go over and help the school out for some of the projects. And you can see the list of some of the things, installation of hallway lockers in the middle school, installation of French drain in the primary school, engineering services for curbing and paving, and installation and replacement of bathroom fixtures. And you know, I would remind the committee that the school has utilized their custodial service to help us do the senior center and some of the other things. So it's kind of a partnership that we've developed with them. So I'm open to any suggestions that the Township Committee has and any interest you might have in supporting this.
And they also do the floors here at Town Hall and in community.
In addition, also facilities. I mean, everybody's got to remember that we also use the school's facilities
Right.
free of charge. I mean, everybody knows it all comes from the same pocket, so that's why we work together hand in hand.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hope.
Absolutely. We use all the recreation fields, their basketball courts, their gym, their stages, whatever we need from them, we get. So it's not a bad swap off.
I think prior to voting on this, it would behoove the committee to have some kind of an estimate of man hours involved. Is the committee responsible for purchasing materials necessary for this project?
That has never been the case.
Well, we never purchased the materials?
No.
Well,
Okay.
we purchase materials.
But
and
they
we
reimburse
reimburse
us.
them.
Oh,
So
cost.
that They reimburse you?
Right, we've never
Actually,
purchased anything, but
Right.
we may be purchasing, but being reimbursed. What it meant is we're not expending it.
Right.
yeah, because the reason I ask is I hear, most recently this evening, Hoagie talking about the fact that, we're having a hard time getting enough people to get the projects that we have underway completed. Amanda's Field would be an example there. With that, what does this do to our scheduled man hours? Does that take away from our ongoing projects? What would be the cost to the taxpayers of this particular project? I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, more of a case that I think that we owe it to ourselves to have an estimate.
Ed could probably answer
understand-
this more, or Mike could.
These are anticipated man hours every year, John, because we do work hand in hand every summer, right, Mr. Jones? Where we've done tile work, we've done all types of improvements for the school to help with their costs. It's done mainly during the summer months, and we anticipate these man hours towards the school.
And I think summertime is notoriously a little slower
Yes.
for us. Most of our sport programs are finished July and August, so we have some available manpower there.
And unfortunately for schools, as we all know, the kids aren't in the schools, so that's the only
So it's on the
availability
weekend,
that the
sure.
school has for our people to be able to go in and help them out. So I think it works out pretty well.
Well, based on past practice, I mean, do we have an idea of, what kind of hours we're talking about here?
It's usually, and I guess it depends on the project, but it's usually 2 or 3 men that come in, and I mean, we'll have at least an estimate of the amount of time that they think it'll take to complete the projects. In the past, I can't give you the exact hours, but I believe somewhere between 5 and 8 weeks on most of the projects were completed during that time period that I recall. And this is probably about the 5th or 6th year that we have had this request. And in the past, it's been very successful. And, I mean, part of the responsibility of all of us is to, ensure that the schools are maintained. And, I think this is a way of doing it and doing it effectively and cost-saving measures, so.
And too, John, I understand what you're talking about as far as man hours and trying to get that, but we don't go to the school and ask the school, hey, by the way, how many man hours do you spend with custodians hanging out, or keeping the school open, or cutting grass, or, I mean, these are municipal workers. They're all on the books. They're already working. So it's just a matter of utilizing your manpower, shifting them around. And unlike in private industry where, you're pinching every hour that a person's working, they're the things that you just have to take. It's part of doing business on your municipal government level. So.
Based on, just based on the estimate that we threw out here, we're talking about 2 to 3 men for, 5 to 8 weeks. So theoretically, that's half of a head count within the department. That's 960 hours. If you look at 280 hours as being the equivalent of a head count. So we're essentially devoting a half of a person's salary for a year to this project.
Well, again, there are a number of things that the school does for us as well, and we haven't asked them to determine their man hours or whatever as well. So, I can only vouch that this has been a very successful program that we've put in place. And, I would be really reluctant not to approve this again this year, so.
And we have the equipment, like even with the French training, we have everything to do that. So it's, yeah. It'd be pretty extensive, I think, to ask them to break down cooling the floors.
And Paul, I believe you're doing the engineer work, are you?
Yeah, I mean, my time is probably a man day, spread out over probably a week at a time, but, a couple hours here and there to get the engineering work. But you have to look at, the senior center, they're over there cleaning the senior center once or twice a week for all 52 weeks.
And doing our floors and, so, I think this is a good trade-off.
And we also have to remember too, using the facilities at nighttime, they could be charging us for a custodian to be there to monitor.
I think they go there daily.
And they don't do that.
They're there daily?
Daily basis.
And that's a service to our seniors. That's a service to our seniors that, they're taking advantage of. I mean, from what I understand, it's being used, on a daily basis by a number of seniors. So, I mean, that's a great thing that we're able to offer them some place to go. And I know that the county has anticipates in expanding the wellness program that's there to educate folks on dieting and high blood pressure, and they're doing things like that there as well. So.
And what service organizations are utilizing the facility at nighttime too?
There's a number of things, and like I've always said, the intangibles that we deal with. There's also equipment we use from them. So I mean, it's one hand washes the other. And like we said, you're down there cleaning that senior citizen center. There's a lot of man hours that go in there. So I think if we start to look at it, it's a pretty good deal for us.
I think we're getting it better.
So do we need a motion?
Yes.
If you're comfortable.
Motion to allow our workers to complete the projects?
Second.
Requested?
Okay, there's a first and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Poppins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is carried. And number 18, we just have the payment of the bills.
Someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
There are 3 reports from the municipal departments, the clerk's office, EMS, and finance office. Those 3 will be available upon request tomorrow at the clerk's office, but I'd like to make a motion to accept those reports.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, we have completed our open agenda, and at this time, we'll open it up if there's any public comment to address the Township Committee. We'd ask that you state your name, your address, and then what you would like to bring before the Township Committee.
Kevin Grubb, Route 50 in Greenfield. Got a couple random questions. One, the shredder that the township bought. I know this is going back a little ways, but is it true that after you got the shredder, they had to change the electric at the building in order to accommodate the shredder?
I don't know that answer. Is that true?
No, it's fine.
Was that
The original shredder?
Excuse me?
The original shredder that we had there?
No, the one that they replaced the original shredder with. Had to update the electric to accommodate the new shredder?
I think we may have somebody in Public Works who could answer that question.
It's not even here yet.
We don't have.
Mr. Jones, could you add to this?
Yes, the electric's not changed, the electric is moved. You did have to get a new, I don't know the exact term, what you call this, converter motor. Converter motor, when they had, I don't know, to find out the report, which is not part of the paper shredder, it's something to do with voltage, the set, and it's nothing that we can do after the electrical company. We purchased a new one of them, the other one is 4 years old. I think it cost us around $500. But for your total cost of office, I'm moving the electric from one side of the road to the other.
Thank you.
There would be labor costs involved, right?
Most definitely.
Most definitely, all right. Just wondering if that was predetermined that it was going to be needed before the purchase of the shredder, or anticipated cost that wasn't mentioned.
Well, I know that the shredder, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know the shredder did come in at a lower price than what the committee actually approved. So
That's just-
probably overall, they approved the amount, we didn't go over the amount that they did approve originally.
My other question regarding Mandus Field, things are moving along with Mandus Field. Employees are being rotated through there. Any issues with that whatsoever?
Not that I'm aware of, but
And I can't answer the question to you, Kev, due to, there's a pending litigation that Mr. Grubb has against myself personally.
should he
And,
recuse himself?
due to that, I don't feel I should sit here
I
and,
guess we can get the answer, but if there is a conflict in that, we can have
People-
Ed.
People are being utilized where they're needed.
People are being utilized. Okay. Okay, so my next question is New Jersey Avenue, the drainage system that's been sitting there dormant for quite a while. Why?
That's on the list to be worked on.
So the drainage system on the street is being put on the back burner for fields to get finished?
I have the utmost confidence in my people to do the work, and according to the gentleman that does our work, said that that could be put down priority on the list. And he's not necessarily just working in Amanda's field, he's working on a priority basis on other projects.
Okay. Well, can you answer me this question of why are the drains draining the wooded area as opposed to the streets on
I
New Jersey
could not
Avenue?
answer that question. I don't run the day-to-day operations.
Can anybody?
I don't think anybody up here knows.
Was anybody inspected it or approved it or designed it that's here?
Well, do you know anything about what
Anything
he's
about it?
asking?
Yeah, they were open ditches along the side of the road that were eroding the bank, and they're installing pipe to cover up the ditches so that they don't have the erosion problem along the ditches. But they're not changing the function of how the drainage system works or the overall effectiveness of it.
Well, the pipes are coming out below the level of the grade of the ground, so I don't understand the purpose of them. They can't drain up. You're draining the wooded area into the drains as opposed to the roads draining off into the woods, which doesn't make any sense to me. Nobody looked at that and seen it?
I'll reiterate it again, all they're doing is taking a conveyance system and changing it from an open ditch conveyance system to a closed pipe conveyance system, which isn't changing the functionality of the system as it was originally designed when the roads were built.
Wouldn't it have made more sense to fix the problem? So the
Well, it sounds like they're
drains actually
addressing
work?
something, but
This is fixing the problem. It's
Is
fixing,
it being worked on?
it's a fixing a roadway erosion problem, and that's what the problem.
But the water's still laying there, correct?
It's
Hold
not
on.
a drainage
Let
improvement project.
the engineer, he's the expert at this, so.
It's back up, it's up in the Tuckahoe section on the, it's the east side of Route 50. And we're behind, where the GB or the tire barn is, back, those streets that are back behind there. As I said before, there was a roadway erosion problem where the open ditches were eroding the bank so that, and they were deep, so that a car could be a dangerous condition and go off the road into the ditch. And there was eroding so that the roads were so narrow, it was cutting into the pavement width. Public Works wanted to close that up. They told me how they were going to do it, and it was not going to change the effectiveness of the existing system. It was not done as a drainage improvement project to increase capacity of the drainage system, improve runoff of the drainage system, or increase capacity. It was just to make a open conveyance system into a closed conveyance system.
Which would make it safer for the road, for cars and.
To make it safer for the motor and public, correct.
Okay, well then, using Mr. Dietrich's words, as it was becoming a hazard or dangerous, and this is supposed to be doing something to make it safer, how is this something that gets put on the back burner to finish a field, as opposed to making the road safe for cars driving up and down the road?
The section of roadway that he's talking about, to where they're at now, I think there's maybe 2 houses, maybe 3 houses that it serves in that area, so it's a very low traffic area. And I would concur with the road supervisor and how they're prioritizing that work, that it's, they're prioritizing their work. Just the other week, I know that they had a drain that was collapsing. They went off of the recreation job and took care of that. I think last week they were out fixing some major potholes that needed to get repaired. I believe they're doing some more potholes this week. So they're, as Mr. Barr said, they're prioritizing their work to get their daily work done.
Okay.
Okay, my next question. You guys, the entire meeting have been talking about having to rotate the workforce and move people around and being shorthanded and things of that nature. Am I correct?
We're doing the best we can with the manpower that we have in place.
Is it true you just terminated an employee?
Personnel matter. We did terminate an employee, but we can't talk about any more than that. From the public record, you can check it.
Okay, so you terminated an employee. We don't have to mention his name because obviously that would be improper, but, so you terminated an employee, and are you going to replace that employee anytime soon? Because the problem that the township's having right now is there's just not enough workers to go around to do everything. You mentioned it week after week after week, and now you've just terminated another employee for something allegedly that happened outside of work that didn't pertain to his job title.
Again, it's personnel matter. It's supposed to be confidential unless the employee asks to go public, and that hasn't happened, so I wouldn't respond to the allegations, whether recognizing that they're true or false or otherwise.
Okay, then let's ask a hypothetical question then. Hypothetically, if you removed an employee from the laborer's position, okay, for whatever reason, are you going to replace that employee? Or do you just intend to not replace the employee to try to save the township taxpayers' money? Because to me, you're not saving any money if you're just jockeying people around, things aren't getting done, projects aren't getting completed when you're just cutting off man hours.
I would have to say that's your opinion. I mean, I believe
Absolutely, it is
that
my
we're
opinion.
utilizing our personnel with the most efficient and effective way that we can. And I believe it's up to us on whether we're going to hire people to replace. And we're going to depend upon our department heads to give us that guidance to say, hey, we need more people to be able to provide a level of service. We have not gotten to that level right now.
Isn't it true your department heads told you that this was a rather good employee, a good worker, a good employee?
Again,
You're
the
being-
attorney just told you that we're not allowed to comment.
All right,
We're
no
not
problem.
gonna
We won't
discuss,
that
we're not
anymore.
gonna discuss a personnel issue.
Okay, all right, my last question is, recently I put in an Uber request, and what I requested was to find out exactly how much money the township has spent in legal fees from 2008 to the present. And, you know, Barbara was kind enough to get the paperwork for me and everything. The amount that has come up is very shocking to me. Since 2000, late 2008, I should say, probably around, I believe it was September of 2008, until last week when I received the papers. Township spent $1,881,788.34 in legal fees over the last 6.5 years, roughly. Do we not see that as a overwhelming amount of legal fees that the township has to spend?
Some of the legal fees are attributed to a lawsuit that we had that was instituted by you.
Absolutely.
So, what I will say is that the attorney fees that have been utilized over the years have been successful in any type of litigation that has ever been brought forth to the township, that we have overcome the de-annexation from Strathmere, which took a significant amount of that money, which, by the way, continues to give this township a lot of tax rateables. For the most part, Mr. Young and all of our attorneys have a lower rate on an hourly rate than what they would normally charge to the private sector.
Well, my question is, don't you think there's a way we can trim that amount? Is there a way to come up with ideas to not spend that much money on legal fees, whether it be reviewing the ordinances, which are having people come in and argue and fight and get attorneys for, or things of that nature, instead of constantly fighting legal fees, or paying legal fees to fight cases?
From my opinion, we have not been challenged in any decision this township has made. Part of the reason why we have the attorneys we have in place is to ensure that the township committee follows the rules and regulations that are in place.
Well,
And-
I disagree with you there.
Well, you may, but I can tell you that, hold on, will you let me finish, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I will tell you that there's a number of towns that make a lot of outside settlements that this township has not done. This township has saved a lot of money, probably more money than what's been spent on potential litigation where we could have settled out of court to make it easier, cut the law costs down, but spent more money in the long run. So from my perspective, I think we've done very well.
Okay, so my question, well, actually, it's not a question. I have to say you're wrong in saying that you've never lost any cases.
Well, you
because-
think I'm wrong.
No, I'm telling you from fact, from when I had to go to court over you filing complaints against me for trailers in my yard and sheds and things of that nature, and we've gone to court, and it's gone to Cape May Court, and you lost. I
Well,
mean,
I
that's a
have to
fact.
think that some of this is personal with yourself.
No, it's not personal. This is just,
Well-
this is a fact that I'm going through. I've gone through numerous attorneys, if I'm not mistaken, I have an entire list of attorneys you have here. It's not just about me. It has nothing to do with me, actually. It's just the overwhelming amount altogether that the township is paying on attorney fees. It's just, I mean, you're averaging roughly $290,000 a year in legal fees. I mean, that's something that should be addressed. Where's that money come from?
You, me, us, taxpayer.
I mean, no matter what, regardless of who it is, me, the other guy, this new employee that gets fired, if he files a lawsuit against you, I mean, it's still an overwhelming amount of money, and it should be addressed. I believe it should be addressed, in my opinion. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address the township committee?
Mike Jones, 263 Marshallville Road, Tuckahoe, former president of Upper Township Lacrosse for 4 years. I'm going to use lacrosse because I ran the program, and when you state that board members should be from Upper Township only, I'm going to absolutely 100% disagree with that thought. I have Upper Township, Ocean City, Sea Isle, Corbin City kids play lacrosse, girls and boys. My girls coordinator, who happens to have a lot of knowledge in lacrosse, runs our girls program. She happens to live in Ocean City, and she also happens to be a board member. How can you tell somebody that has ambition to drive to teach these girls and make them better to do something they love and tell her she can no longer be on a board of an organization in Upper Township.
Do you think it should be a percentage?
There should not be any percentage because our girls practice in Ocean City. So our Upper Township Warrior girls practice in Ocean City, not just Upper Township. One night a week they practice in Ocean City, one night a week they practice in Upper Township. So they are using Ocean City fields, and it's worked out very, very well. So how do you tell somebody that has ambition and drive, I'm sorry, but you live on the other side of the bridge, we don't want you on our board?
That's why we had initially looked at 75% of the board.
My treasurer lives in Corbin City. My co-president lives in Ocean City. Do you want me to continue?
Well, I understand that.
Where are my board members going to come from? Because a board member is not somebody that you go and pick and say, Paul, you're on the soccer board now. Paul don't know nothing about soccer, doesn't know anything about anything. But you're from Upper Township, you have to be on our board. Because the one that has the drive and the ambition lives in Ocean City and they're not allowed. They don't count, they don't matter.
The questions that came up with the rec committee was a controlling interest. Because if you have board members and they outnumber the amount of people from Upper Township on your board, they can control everything that program's doing. And there's a lot of money that gets put in this by the township that we want to have the controlling interest in it. And that almost, well, I guess every one of them the other night agreed to it.
Exactly. In an ideal world.
Every one of them.
In an ideal world, yes, we like to have a mixture of people on boards. But that's where it comes down, is the controlling interest of what goes on these boards. And at the meeting the other night, some of the hypotheticals that some of these board members threw out at us, worried about that if somebody, because they're 501Cs, somebody all of a sudden taking control of the finances and saying, all right, let's leave Dodge, let's leave Upper Township and go to another town. That's what they're worried about. They're worried about putting all that sweat equity into a program and then losing control.
But that's not,
the
that is
program
up to the board, existing board members who vote for the people that have the ambition to join these boards and serve for the interests of the children, to be on these boards because they want the program to continue to be successful.
We understand that, but who is supplying the fields? Who's paying for the insurances? The Upper Township taxpayers. They're the ones that are footing the bill for you to be able to play here in this township. So the controlling interest should be to the people of Upper Township to control these boards.
The fear factor was this, and it hasn't happened yet, but this is something that was brought to my attention. If you have 10 members on your board, 6 of them are out of the area. They can now vote the locals as far as this is a recreation program. It is not an outside entity. They could vote any way they wanted to and take control of the program based on your bylaws. So we're looking at a way to be able to control that where this stays in the township. This is where it started.
Well, then change the bylaws.
Well,
Not the board members, change the bylaws.
Well, then we can change it. Then we can change it.
Upper Township Warrior Lacrosse bylaws read that we are a feeder program.
Right.
We're a feeder program for Ocean City.
Sure.
But that's, Mike, just so you understand, if a board has the authority, and I don't know whether your board has, but generally, they have the authority to change the bylaws anytime they want. So they could change that and say, we're now going to be a feeder program to Ocean City, or we're now going to be a feeder program to Upper Township. But they have a concern if I'm understanding it.
But they only can change the bylaws if it's voted upon their
Depends
board
upon
to
each
change.
individual organization's bylaws. Some boards can change their own bylaws. Nonprofits have 2 setups. One is where members elect the board, and the second is where the board members themselves are self-perpetuating. When they are self-perpetuating, they vote for themselves. In other words, they bring the board members in, and they have the ability to change bylaws because they are the organization. I know at least one upper organization that doesn't have memberships vote. It's a self-perpetuating board. A lot of nonprofits are. They're self-perpetuating.
I mean, I'm just speaking on behalf of Upper Lacrosse. I'm not involved in any of the other organizations, but we run ours quite differently than everybody else. We have a vice president, a co-vice president. We have a president and a co-president.
Who elects them? The board, right?
They are brought in as people leave. when I left as president, I went out and found somebody that I thought would be a good fit.
But that's the
They were
board
brought
makes that
in-
decision.
the
You
board
want an
voted.
election by all the
Yeah.
parents to determine your board members, do you?
No, it's by the board, existing
Right,
board.
so,
vote.
so the board has the authority to move then. The only way the board doesn't have the authority is if you vote the board members in and you have the majority vote on decisions. But if the board is determining who's going to be board members, the board determines how that organization's run.
I mean, like my co-president and president, one's from Ocean City, one's from Upper Township.
You've got a good board, all right? But there has been some situations going on that we had to look at. And it's
With other sports.
I'm not going to bring up any programs.
No, I'm saying you had situations with other sports.
With other sports. But we can't do an individual. We can't go out and just do, basketball, you're the problem, so we're only going to address you.
But I'm going to end it with, I think you're going to hurt some of these organizations. If you go 100%, the board has to be from Upper
What would your
Township.
recommendation be?
My recommendation, well, if you have a 5-member board.
3 out of
saying
5?
3 out of the 5 have to be from Upper. All boards are different sizes.
Right.
Upper Lacrosse, I think, is 9 members on the board.
So would you be comfortable with wording that says majority of the board members, meaning by majority, by one, will have to be from Upper Township?
I think because what you lose, and it's not just in lacrosse, but what you lose is, you lose that parent that moves, say, to Ocean City. And maybe he was a Division I athlete that played, and he's got young kids now, and he's going to come through your program. And he really wants to get involved, but he can't because he's from across the bridge, or across the bridge this way, or across the bridge to Sea Isle.
They could get involved as a coach, right? Do they have to be a board member to get involved?
Well, some of them, they have a lot of good ideas, and it's a lot better to have them on the board also, to bring the ideas to the table and maybe change the way the programs have been run and tweak it and get a different view of it from somebody that's lived it, that has done it, and now they're bringing all their ideas to the board, whereas they're a coach and, oh yeah, I hear what you're saying, and they don't really hear what he's saying. So you only have him as a coach, but not as somebody that knows how to do things, or as a motivator to get other people involved. I mean,
Unfortunately, the complaints I got came from an area where a lot of the people from not just a sending, receiving relationship like you have with Ocean City. And that's what we had to address.
I understand that, and I know.
And in discussing it, we can't say, your program only. We have to look at the whole picture to make it fair for everybody.
We're very fortunate in Upper Township for our youth to have what we have
Oh, yeah.
here. Other towns are not so fortunate. So little Johnny, who's really good at a sport in a town that they don't have that sport, they come to Upper Township.
Right.
And thank you for letting them come here, and I'd hate to see that go away because the kid misses out.
We don't want to stop those kids from being here. And I have no problem with the supermajority being the rule.
I just think we should, not make it 100%. That's just my opinion. I think it should be majority. If it's a 9-person board, then, 6 have to be, or you gotta have an odd number, so.
What is it?
5.
If it's 9,
If it's 9, it'll be 5.
Some of the boards have 5,
You'd
so-
have to reconsider your direction. to
Again,
maybe
understand
make it
where we're
majority.
looking at this. It's not to hurt anybody.
I understand that.
It's just that we need to look at that. And one program can taint the whole system for everybody, unfortunately.
I mean, all boards consist of an odd number, so it's going to have to be.
Right.
I don't know any boards that are even.
As long, I have no problem with it being majority. I just want to make sure we maintain home control on these programs.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
But we can discuss that later.
If you're
Well,
going to
actually,
change it,
we-
you need to tell
we
me
have-
before I start drafting.
Address that now?
That's right.
If you're
Can
going
we
to
address
change
it
it, I
now?
need to be, we need to get direction.
Obviously, based on Mike's testimony and, raising some very interesting questions that I want to look at, I would have no problem amending this ordinance to be the majority have to be township residents.
So it would be based on the makeup of the board, majority of them have to be Upper Township residents.
Yeah. Well, I'll bring it to you in that, if that's what your motion is second, you vote it that way, we'll draft the ordinance that way.
I don't have a problem with it that way.
Right. So is there any other discussion?
I know personally, I'm still in favor of keeping any of the boards for the Upper Township programs, exclusively Upper Township people.
Okay.
I'm not banning others from participating, but I feel as though that the controlling interest of the board should be 100% Upper Township.
Okay.
One thing I will bring up too, just to, again, Mike made me think of it, at the meeting the other night, we have a ton of kids playing, and all of a sudden, we're in a quagmire with not enough volunteer coaches. So some of the coaches do live outside of the area, even though they don't have kids in the program. It's normally we have too many coaches and not enough kids. But the last couple of years, it seemed like it's done a flip-flop once. And I would, again, hate to see somebody come in that was a good coach that can add to the program.
The only way to possibly meet John's objectives and Mike's objective is if we set up individual advisory committees, which could contain any member from any community on that advisory committee, and then they would answer to the board.
But we have our advisory committee already.
So that would be the only way to achieve John's goal. I don't know how hard and fast that is. I don't know what you have out there, Mike. I don't know how your board is set up. If you have advisory committees that you accept input from everybody to the board, I have no idea.
We always take, I mean, you can take parents' consideration of we can have this or how you do that. I mean, there's always somebody out there that's a better idea.
How many board members do you have on your board? How many live, you know?
6.
What you would do, you have to reduce your board down to either 5 or 6, and then the other people would have to be ex officio members because they're not members of the township. That's something similar to what Mr. Pearson's saying. There's nothing to say, you know, that they can't be, you know, committee or advisory or whatever. They can still be involved, but they
Well, they could even be ex officio members and not be able to vote.
Yeah.
They could be ex officio members of the board.
Just like we
have
have
that all voting members have to live in Upper Township. But that's, I mean, it's what you can live with, and it's what
Unfortunately, I
they
got
want.
a co-president right now that's been on the board for 4 years, his son's in 6th grade, that's 2 years ago. So now you have to train somebody, bring somebody else in here to replace him next year because.
No.
I don't know what the bylaws say, but you could probably have an officer that doesn't live in the township, because an officer is just an officer, it's not a board member. They often are the same, but they don't have to be the same.
But if you already have 6 in the township, you'd be okay anyway.
Well, you have 6 in the township, but it's, some do more than others, and some have more connections than others. Yes.
But that's something, you know, you have to worry about. What we're worried about is keeping home rule so that the programs can't walk out of here.
I just hate to see it growing one bad apple from everybody else.
So would I.
And unfortunately, that's the only problem.
We are now.
The issue with bad apple, it's not right, and that's the way society is today. We're punishing everybody for one person's mistakes, for one person's doing.
Well, I think, Michael, you have to understand that in the long run, the programs are still being offered. And so I don't think in any way somebody's looking to decrease the amount of programs that are offered. I think it's more that it's a protectionary thing so that they stay in place.
And the thing is too, right now, under your experience with lacrosse is fine. We acknowledge that fact. But 3-4 years down the road, when the composition of your board starts to change, then there could possibly be a problem. Where
his board right now is
controlling
2/3 Upper Township.
That's right.
On the map correctly.
But if you had no controls in there, before you know it, the controlling interest is now.
My point is, if you went to 2/3, you wouldn't have to do anything.
Let me talk to you this way. Your board votes on everything you do as far as your expenditures for the money you have sitting there.
Yes.
All right? You lose the majority, and all of a sudden, you could have 6 people from out of the township saying, we're going to spend $25,000 on something, even though the home people say no. You lost control of your board and everything you have.
Here's the problem. First of all, we don't keep $25,000.
Well, I know you don't, but there are
because
programs here that are.
You have to fill out the long form instead of the short form. When it comes to the CSI 200 form, I think that's what it's called, Dan? So I might have the first
Keeps it
numbers
below
wrong.
25 so it doesn't have to do extra reporting.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
that's one of the concerns that were brought up.
But here's the deal. Lacrosse alone spends $9,000 in 8 weeks on officiating fees. Okay? So right off the get-go is $9,000. There is no other cost in lacrosse except for uniforms and balls for the season. So what you're gonna spend $25,000 on, I have no idea.
no,
What
I
you're
was
gonna
just
spend
throwing a number out there.
what you're gonna spend $5,000 on, I have no idea.
Just throwing a number out there to look at, that's all.
But we keep the amount of money in this public record, what we have in our account, and we keep it well below the $25,000 threshold, but it's not where, if you take baseball, that they can go spend, or football, a lot of money on equipment. I mean, football, you could go buy dummies, tackling dummies, machines, and you can spend a whole lot of money on it.
Well, their equipment alone every year, they're replacing is.
Exactly.
It's about
but-
$300 a kid.
I just, in my opinion, I'm gonna sit back down because I don't wanna go over my 5-minute time limit, but, I just think you ought to really think about this and what the kids would lose with somebody that's really involved in the sport and has the knowledge and the coaching abilities to teach our youth the right way of doing things. But they can't get fully involved because they're not allowed to sit on the board. I can tell you now, being on lacrosse, and I'm not gonna pound lacrosse, but they had an issue at 5th grade this year. They couldn't get coaches that had experience. If you don't know the game of lacrosse, you can't teach a kid how to throw if you can't throw yourself. You watch all the videos you want.
Yeah.
Finally, an Ocean City resident that has lacrosse experience stepped up to coach. He didn't want to coach his son, but he stepped up to coach that team, and it's worked out very, very well. But it's just like baseball. A lot of parents get involved in baseball for the first time with their kids, and they don't know what they're doing, but they try and team them up with experienced coaches that know the game and know the fundamentals. And that's what we got to keep in this township, to teach our kids the proper way to do things. Number one, so they don't get hurt. Number two, they learn the right way, and then when we get to high school, they know what they're doing.
And again, the coaching is a whole different issue, but one of the things that brought out the other night was you could have the majority of the board decide we're going to go with uniforms that are $200 a piece, and because they have the cluster and the overall vote, they could outvote the locals who put a lot of time in to get the program where it is, and that was one of the big concerns.
That's fine. We'll move on, and I'll let you guys are going to vote the way you want. It's just my opinion. I just wanted to throw it out there to you. But the other issue, instead of beating up on motorcycles in Amanda's Field and safety issues, let's beat up on parking. Let's make these sports responsible to park in parking lots. Let's make the football team on Sunday responsible to park in parking lots and not on the road, not on the sprinkler heads.
Which we have done.
Is where they need to go. Go there on a Saturday and tell me where everybody parks. I have a soccer mom sitting in here right now, and she'll tell you where everybody parks on Sundays and Saturdays for soccer. And it's not in parking lots.
The last 2 Sundays, we had cones out the entire length of the roadway.
There's cones out there that say no parking, they run them over.
I know.
Okay? So let's enforce the parking. Let's spend some money and put up some more vinyl fencing to keep them off the sprinklers and the grass. And then we don't have to worry about kids running through cars when the soccer ball goes over the fence.
Oh, we put no parking signs up by the front. And
That's
they
what we
park there
need
anyway.
to do.
So, but we are, we have been trying to put cones down every week to keep the people out.
Mr. Mayor, go there Saturday morning. When's kindergarten soccer? Saturday morning?
I was there Wednesday afternoon for my granddaughter's soccer.
Oh, they're
game.
horrible.
Go Saturday morning for kindergarten soccer.
Okay.
Take some pictures.
They're parked everywhere.
I said turn the sprinklers on every hour for an hour all day on Saturday and see if they continue to park.
And like you saw up in the front, they put the signs up.
Good idea.
Parents parked right alongside of them.
They ran a
car wash.
Yeah,
So,
I did.
Would anybody else like to contribute to the township committee meeting? Okay, appears as if all those that wanted to address the township committee have. So I'll close the public portion of the meeting and turn it over to Mr. Coggins
If
to
we
make
do
a
that,
motion.
I need to know what I'm supposed to do on that ordinance.
Yeah, you got the
I'll
ordinance.
amend the motion on that to go to a majority.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
No.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor.
Okay, so we'll close the public portion, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Coggins to make a motion to go into executive session.
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Contract negotiation with J. Paul Bainbridge and Associates. The cell lease tower consultant. The temporary electrical inspector. Potential litigation for affordable housing declaratory judgment motion. And personnel. I also include in my motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality. With respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period has expired.
Second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
I wish you all a pleasant evening. Drive safely home. Thanks for appearing.